Okay, so now here we are in part 3 of our discussion of informative speeches, and I'm going to be talking about guidelines for informative speech, some suggestions, some do's and don'ts, things to consider, and that kind of information. Okay, so number 1, it says don't overestimate what the audience knows. But at the same time, I would say don't underestimate. You got to try to figure out, you're not going to know for sure, but you're going to take a good, healthy guess of saying, about what do I think my audience knows about this topic? I guess you could do a survey if you had the right setup, the right situation. We don't have it, so you're going to have to kind of go. You don't want to teach us like children by explaining every little minute detail, but neither at the same time do you want to overestimate and shoot everything over the top of our heads that we don't have no idea what you are talking about. So try to figure out, what would a typical average person know? Maybe ask a family member or a friend, how much do they know about a topic? And if they seem to be a typical person, then you can gauge your content based on their response to that question. So try to gauge where people are, your vocabulary, your style, those kinds of things. Oh, let me mention something about speed. I think in one of my videos I mentioned too fast or too slow. If I had to pick one, I would say probably too slow is better. But then I went back and said, but at the same time, going a little fast gives you more energy and excitement. And I would stick with that, but I just do not want to give you the impression that it doesn't matter how fast you go. Faster is better. And that's not accurate. That's not what I'm trying to say. But what I'm trying to say is present at a good speed while maintaining some good energy. You may not sound as reflective, which I mean, it sounds smarter than the rest of us, but you're going to have some energy. So pick your poison. Just still, I'm not saying don't go any speed you want. Speed doesn't matter. Speed absolutely matters. So anyway, I wanted to make sure I got that put in. Okay, so number 1, don't overestimate or underestimate what your audience knows. Number 2, relate the subject directly to the audience. How can you make that connection with your audience and your subject? Now, just a couple of ways that come to mind for me is, number 1, ask a question at the beginning or take a survey related to the topic. That will then get them to be thinking, okay, me and the topic and me. And so they're kind of investing and embedding themselves in your topic just by having them think about it through just a simple question. You can do that at the beginning, but you can also, during the speech itself, once in a while, just say, hey, how many of you have been there? Or how many of you have watched a video about the moon landing? And they raise their hand. They're buying in. They are investing in your topic. So how can you relate your topic to them? If you're talking about a certain type of dog, ask how many people have that dog. So try to tie them in. Number 3, don't be too technical. And this particularly relates to topics about sciences and I was going to say math, but that would fit also, but also technology. In other words, things that are changing all the time. Math doesn't change as much, but certainly science is changing all the time. Technology is changing all the time. But just be careful you don't assume they know all about gigabytes and terabytes and clocking speed and all these things on a speech about computers, because you will probably lose most of them. So, and that brings me to another topic that the textbook talks about. I have a little bit of a different approach. And by the way, I'm going to give you a hint in the quiz coming up. So if you don't watch this video, you're out of luck on this one. In the quiz, the textbook there's a question about jargon, and that's what I'm going to be talking about in a moment. And it's going to say jargon basically is a bad thing. That's what the textbook says. Don't use jargon. I'm going to have a little bit of a different approach. So anyway, I'll come back to that. Jargon is specialized vocabulary that is used among people in a particular field. for example, if you are around a group of sound technicians, they're going to be using, my son's a sound technician, they're going to be using language and concepts and words that fit them. They're not trying to be better than everybody else by having their own secret language, but they're going to have words that they use to describe and understand concepts related to sound technology. We're not going to know those words necessarily. So in that sense, jargon can be a bad thing because it kind of keeps people out. It's sometimes people use jargon as a way of saying, see how much smarter I am than you. I know all these words and you poor people don't know them. And so they use those words as a way of achieving mental or cognitive, or at least in their field of expertise, superiority. Now, that's the textbook, and that's kind of where they leave it. I have a little bit of a different approach. And I don't think they would necessarily be against it in the textbook. Maybe it's just how they say it. Here's what I would say. Use that vocabulary, use that special vocabulary, but let people in on the definition. For example, when I say megahertz, what we mean by that word is this. I couldn't even tell you what a megahertz is. And that way, you know, they know. And what I have found is people like to be in on knowing things not everybody else knows. Oh, now I know something about sound production that most people don't know. I know all about megahertz, however that might fit in. But you get the idea? So it's okay to use jargon as long as you define it and clarify it. The textbook just leaves it at jargon is a bad thing because not everybody knows what you might be talking about. So I'm taking it a step beyond that. Okay. So that's jargon. So next is avoid abstractions. That is the word I like to use in a speech is be concrete. Being concrete means you are clear and articulate. You use examples and illustrations from real life that people may either have known or experienced or at least seen or read about. They're going to get it. The illustration helps clarify and make it understandable. It doesn't make it more abstract. So avoid abstractions. Try to drive it down to vocabulary and words and word pictures and images that typical people like you and me, understand. And then number 5 is personalize your ideas. Now, this means you make them understandable. And I'll use this illustration as an illustration. When you choose illustrations, select ones that involve you personally or maybe come close to involving your audience as close as possible. The closer you can get it to connect with and pull in your audience into the speech, the more they will get out of it. By the way, your textbook will talk about using the words you and your as a way of connecting with the audience that will help them get more out of the speech. So using you and your, not they and them and out there somewhere, you and your, personalize it will help your audience get more out of your speech presentation. Okay, last thing in this chapter. There's a lot you can get out of it. Please read the chapter. You've got to read the chapter. Please don't approach reading the chapter and say, I don't need the video. And please don't use the video as a quicker way and doesn't include any reading of avoiding reading the chapter. They are two different animals. They are complementary, but I don't cover everything in the textbook. And I try to cover things that are not in the textbook quite often from my long years of experience in public speaking. So the last thing is in your textbook, there is an example of a speech in manuscript form. A manuscript is a written word-for-word document of the speech presentation that would be presented verbally. And it is there, and the purpose of it is for you to read through that speech, see how things are done. There's usually notes to the side that say, this is why the speaker did what they did. Here's what they intended. Here was their goal. Here's how they did it. And it gives you very helpful insights and suggestions on how you can do your speech. And then in addition, at the end of the textbook, there is an appendix that has at least 4 speeches in it, 4 speech manuscripts. Again, read through those manuscripts as a way of seeing what a speech looks like on paper. So you're watching the videos of speeches, learning from that, and you can also learn from using these manuscripts. So that's there for you. Okay, so that is part 3 done and over. And we're now going to go back, next I think is back to chapter 7. We return the next video and talk about chapter 7. All right, thank you.